FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark. And another band which actually just won the Rock in the Dark New Music Poll this past week is a band out of Florida. They are called, cool name actually, is Oblivious Signal is the name. We're talking with the lead singer, and that being Christina. And I guess, Christina, first of all, welcome to The Dark. And
thank you for having me.
And the question, I guess, with the name, I think it's a really cool name. And obviously, it's the old, how'd the name all come about kind of question. But I am definitely curious. How did this name all come about?
Well, this band was formed before me. The band has been around for a little bit over 10 years, and I've been in the band for 8 years. So my guitarist and the drummer, when Jason and Nick, they thought of the name before I came into the band. And basically what the name means is, people give off oblivious signals all day. So people can either carry themselves in a positive nature or a negative nature. And sometimes you don't know why things happen in life and why certain consequences, good or bad, happen. And it's guided by those signals that we throw out into the world.
Cool. See, I thought it was just, some guy was driving down the road and they had their signal on and they were just oblivious to it being on. So, hey, we should name our band that.
Sounds like Florida.
Hey, exactly. Hey, you mentioned the history a little bit. Let's talk about the history of this band and how did this band all come about?
Well, Jason, who's my drummer, he worked with Nick's dad, Nick the guitarist, and they worked at Home Depot years ago. And Nick's dad found out that Jay was a drummer, and he's like, "Hey, my son plays guitar. Do you guys want to jam?" So they kind of started jamming, and then they had a male singer. It used to be a more metal screamo type of band. They had a male singer for a while, and then he stepped down. And I was transitioning from a progressive project that I was doing. I was doing more of it was like a prog rock down in Miami, and I was just looking for something completely different. I was kind of over that type of music at that point in my life. And I answered a MySpace ad. That's how old school we are right now, MySpace. So I answered a MySpace ad from the guys, and I came in. I jammed with them. I must have jammed with them for about 3 to 4 months before they told me that they forgot to tell me I was in the band. And we've been together ever since, and we had been through different bass players, and then Greg came into the lineup about 4 years ago, and he's been solid and one of the strong points in the band as well. So
very interesting story, because obviously you mentioned originally a lead singer being a male and then switching to a female lead singer. Obviously they saw a direction they wanted to go that way, but how did that all really come about, and how did they embrace that?
Well, it was funny because when I auditioned with them, I auditioned all of the screamo songs because I was kind of looking for a little bit of a heavier project. But what started happening down the line is that I started losing my vocal range as well for the singing aspect of it. So, me and Nick got to talking, and he's like, we don't have to do that type of stuff. And he's like, I have more freedom to write because you have a larger vocal range than our old vocalist. He goes, so why don't we try a different type of feel, a heavier sound, but more melodic. And that's the route we started taking. My voice started healing up again. It took me about 2 years to regain those 2 octaves that I lost doing a lot of the screamo stuff. And and here we are today now, doing what we're doing.
It's funny you mentioned the voice issues, and I've talked to a lot of different bands over the last couple of years, and that is one of the things that has come up, and you go with some of even the higher profile bands, like Jacoby Shaddix, Papa Roach, and other bands that have had that throat issue. How tough is that to have something like that and then to come back and do what you do on a nightly basis?
It's hard. I used to go to an ear, nose doctor almost every other month to get my throat checked out to make sure that I wasn't getting nodules or any of this crazy stuff. But I did some major damage to my vocal cords. So, it took me 2 years with a professional, vocal trainer to just practice how to sing properly, how to do everything properly all over again. It was crazy. But, I bounced back from it, and now I'm happy, and now I'm very careful about my voice and everything. So.
And obviously your voice is what's going to make you some money, right?
Exactly. So I want to take care of it.
Absolutely. Hey, we're talking with Christina. She's the lead singer of the band Oblivious Signal. We'll talk about the new album, which just came out. You have a new single, too, which we've been airing here on The Dark. But let's talk about a female-fronted band. Obviously, it seems like in the last maybe 3-4 years, this has really exploded. I mean, obviously, there's been pioneers that back in the day that sang, your Joan Jett, all those. But it seems like it's almost making a comeback again here and really has taken off. I guess, what are your comments about it?
I mean, I think it's awesome. I grew up listening to a lot of female-fronted artists from different genres. It's funny because if you look at my iPod, it's like all chick singers from any and every genre. So I think it's great. I think it's becoming more popular just because I feel like a lot of the male-dominated, rock industry, a lot of the stuff is, at least in my opinion, is starting to sound the same. And it's nice to get that different, I guess, fresher breath air, like, oh, okay, well, this is different. It's a chick singing, and it's not sounding like everything else. So I think, I think that's kind of what's going on.
You mentioned looking up to some people, and that were you looking at my questions? Because one of my questions was, what is in your music collection that might shock me? So you must have been looking at my questions.
I've shocked a couple of people with this question. I've been asked this a few times this week. And I actually have the full Britney Spears album collection.
Nice.
So it's a lot of people look and they're like, really? And I'm like, I grew up listening to her and I like her.
Nice. So have you done any of those songs live before?
Not yet. My drummer brought up a while ago that he wanted to do the song Toxic.
Okay,
metal version of it. So I'm thinking it would be cool. Maybe we'll try it out.
You just never know. I mean, what did Blank Space did the Taylor Swift song, and that put them on the map. Or I Prevail. Yeah, I Prevail, Blank Space, yeah. And that song was an awesome cover. I remember when I first heard that cover, I was like, holy crap, what am I listening to? This is great. And I went right online and I bought it right that second. So, I mean, that was a great cover. It's funny, and obviously you haven't done any covers, at least that I know of. You haven't done any covers, have you?
No, we haven't recorded any covers or anything like that.
Okay. Because I was talking with Nixon from Framing Hanley about a year ago or so, and because Lollipop, they did a cover of Lollipop by Little John, and, that's kind of what then all of a sudden they were known as, and it was a good thing because it got them in the industry, but then also that's what they were known as. And I kind of wonder if that's going to be the same way here with I Prevail. They're known so well for that song. Are they going to be able to break off into their own? It'll be waiting to see, I guess.
Yeah. I guess you know what? I bought their album though, man. Their album is phenomenal. So, because I ended up checking a lot of their other stuff and it was great, but it's true. I mean, the first song I go to play when I start the album is I automatically go into the Blank Space song and then run everything through. So.
That kind of leads into my next question here a little bit, as you're talking about covers and all that kind of stuff. And you had mentioned I Prevail. You went out and bought that. Is there some other artists out there that we don't know about yet that are in the rock industry that you think, boy, these guys need a shake or they need to get on the airwaves? Or somebody that you're digging right now?
I've been playing a lot of Red, but they've been around for a while. They just got that new album. I think it was called of Beauty and Rage.
Yep.
Great album. But more up-and-coming type of artists, I think my most recent one, like I said, that I just bought was I Prevail because they really surprised me. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head right now, though. I mean, Straight Line Stitch is coming up with some new music I heard, so I'm very anxious to see that roll back around. And then right now, we're touring with Seasons After, so I got to hear a lot of their new stuff live, and it was amazing to see them also come right back around. And they're one of those bands, they did a cover as well.
Right.
So they broke into the industry with Cry Little Sister.
Yes.
So
absolutely. And definitely their new song, Worn and Weathered, right?
Yeah.
Weathered and Worn. I had it the wrong way. I'm dyslexic, okay?
It's okay. It's all good.
It's all good, right? Hey, we're talking with Christina. She's with the band Oblivious Signal. Let's talk about the history of Florida a little bit. And it seems like a lot of rock bands come out of Florida, hasn't there been?
Yeah, it's a great market. I live in South Florida. It's a little bit tougher because it's all more hip hop pop oriented. And it wasn't until we started heading more north of Florida to like Orlando and Jacksonville and all these heavy rock markets that we started seeing more more success for ourselves as Oblivious Signal. But it's those markets like Orlando, even Tampa, man, they got such a great rock scene. So, and it's a good community of bands there too, where everybody really supports each other. Melbourne recently, got on the map as well with some really good rock bands. They get a lot of nationals coming through, and there's a promoter out there that makes sure that any up and coming bands that are getting to that level, that he has them open up for these national bands, which I think is awesome, because you don't really get that opportunity too much. And for Melbourne, which used to be kind of retirement central, to now be exploding in that scene as well is pretty impressive.
Wow. Hey, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the rock scene itself. And for a band like you, you're a band that obviously probably has a pretty good following down there in Florida and that, but maybe not so much yet nationwide. How tough is it for you guys to get your name out there and get into that next level where you'd like to be?
Right now, thankfully we signed with Pavement, so Pavement's helping us with the marketing aspect of everything. But as we're touring with Seasons After and with Fall, that's also helping us. We're a very personable band. I mean, we'll chill at the table. We'll hang out with all the fans. We ran into fans at Denny's and sat and ate with them yesterday. So, that's just us. We reach out to as many people as I can through our social, as we can through social media. All the messages that come through, you're not going to get a response back from any weirdos or anything like that. That all comes back from us. So, for us, it's tough. But I feel we go above and beyond to make sure that people in different areas can hear about us.
You mentioned Denny's. Marilyn Manson wasn't there, was he?
No, there was no fighting.
Hey, you knew where I was going with that, didn't you?
Yep. That's funny.
Hey, let's. One other question here, and you guys are really young yet. I mean, you guys have been around for a little bit. You're almost, 8-10 years, you said, as a band together. So yep. You got some stuff out there so far. A question that I always like to ask bands is this, and it makes them sometimes think a little bit. What artist out there, and it can be any artist, would you like to cover one of your songs?
I don't know. Probably, because I'm a female-fronted singer, I would say maybe Hailstorm.
Okay. Pretty
cool. So, and just to see her also combine some of Nick's solos and her do them, that would be awesome.
Very cool.
So,
what kind of relationship do you have right now with other bands, as you mentioned, like Hailstorm and that? Have you ever had a chance to meet them? Haven't got that chance yet? I mean, where are things at?
Not yet. I hope so one day, but not yet. Like I said, right now with Flaw, and
right.
They've, they're really helping us out. Kind of, this is our first big tour for us, so they've kind of taken us under their wing a bit. And Seasons After has been great, but as far as other bands, for us, meeting them, unless we've been hooked up going backstage to chill or do anything like that. We don't really have too much of a relationship with those bands yet. But I'm sure as, our careers keep progressing and as we keep joining more major tours and different festivals, that those relationships will come.
You said you're on the road for your first major tour, and I'm assuming when you guys are back in the studio, back at home, maybe doing some small gigs, you had maybe some kind of, picture of what it would be like to go out on a big tour. Is that reality coming true to you, that picture of what you thought it was, or is it something completely different?
It's a little different. As a young band, you imagine that you're going to go to each venue and there's going to be millions of fans screaming your name, but as a band starting out, it's not like that.
Yeah.
So most of the time it's like, oh, you guys are playing this gig too? So, it's different. We had some RV issues with our bus when we first, kicked off, so we didn't expect that. And that was a big setback for us, the first day. So, it's a big eye-opener for us. Gas is very expensive. We didn't know that. Like we did, but we didn't know how much it takes you to really get you across the country. So, it's fun, though. Like, we're learning and we're loving it. If we can do this for a living, for the rest of our lives, and, it's all good.
And I wonder, too, even for our listeners, sometimes what their image is when they hear, oh, there's a rock band coming. So right away they're thinking, big buses and airfare, all this stuff, big tour companies. And then in reality, it's not like that. You might be pulling a little 6x6 trailer with, your friend's RV that they've had for 30 years in the parking lot somewhere, right?
Hey, were you looking at our RV?
I've seen a few of those around here. So
yeah, we got an old school 99, and we got really lucky when we got this when we bought it because it was in really good condition. But we're pulling one of those little baby trailers with the rest of our gear. So
now you're not driving, are you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a good driver. I drive a lot, but not this big thing. I'm good. I'll just sleep and do all the marketing stuff.
Absolutely. We're talking with Christina, the lead singer of the band Oblivious Signal. Let's talk about the new album, which just came out the other day. Came out on Tuesday, in fact, yesterday. Talk about the album, all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into that album.
Man, Exordium, the album was actually 4 years in the making. So we had dropped an album back in 2010 called Into the Night. And we didn't really have a chance to do much of promotion or anything like that with it because we kind of went through some turmoil with the band. So, fast forward 4 years later, we get an awesome bass player and everything. And in those 4 years, it was mostly just Nick and I writing. And because Jason, my drummer, had moved away for a little while. And so Nick and I were just writing, and we had tons of material. And the whole time we're like, man, how are we going to get this out? We're meeting with labels. We don't even have a full band because we had all these meetings set up before, things kind of just kind of fell apart for a little while. So it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So and a lot of stress. And, finally when Jason came back and everything, it was just like finally, we can keep this rolling. And, we had Greg and everything, and we just went into the studio. I have a home studio.
Okay.
So it was very stressful for me because I'm doing a lot of the production. I was doing the engineering, and I was doing everything for this album. And it was 3 a.m, and I'm a perfectionist, so I'm mixing every single night. And I think I didn't sleep for about 6 months. So I'm making up for it now on the road.
That's true. You can do that now. And the first single is Crash off of that. What's the story behind the current radio single that you have?
Well, Crash was actually, I wrote it about a friend of mine that passed away when he was driving under the influence. And I tend to write everything down on notebooks, all my thoughts and everything. It's kind of like a diary, but not a diary. It's just like where I write lyrics. And Nick came over with this riff one day, and I was like, man, that's really powerful. I'm like, let me see if I can make these lyrics work with it. And it just clicked. It was like putting a puzzle together, and you had every single puzzle, and not one was missing. You know how that happens when you get the puzzle boxes. So I was like, this is great. So it was more like of a musician's therapy, I call it, to put that song out because it's a very personal song to me. And, I do tear up a little bit every time I see it every night because I see everybody who's, drunk at some of the clubs and all this stuff. And I wonder, man, I hope they make it home safe,
right.
Because unfortunately my situation, my friend didn't. So, it's a personal song for me, and I'm happy to put it out there. I mean, we get fan mail from people saying, how it affects them and all this stuff. And it's great to hear how it impacts others as well.
Have you had a chance to hear your song yet on the radio?
Well, we have not heard it. We haven't heard it on the radio yet. We've been in the bus, and we don't even have a radio in here. That's how old it is.
You got an 8-track tape, huh, player?
Yeah. We don't even have anything. We don't even. There's no radios, no nothing here. So
Okay.
we were saying we're going to put in a CD player, and we're like, where are the speakers? So.
Well, I guess I won't be able to ask you the next question because my question was, what does it mean to you to hear your music on the radio? Maybe you've heard some other songs. I'm not sure. But if you haven't.
Yeah, we have. We've been played through college radio a lot. Back with our old album. So it means a lot, man, to be able to crank that up and just, it's like, wow, that's us. That's our work. That's our many years of stress and everything that we put into it, and it's getting out there to the masses. So it's a great feeling.
If somebody would come to one of your shows, obviously, which hopefully one day you'll make it up this way, what would be one of your favorite songs that you like to play live?
Home. The album is definitely one of our favorite songs. That's the whole band's favorite song to play live because we play that as the opener, and it just gets everybody going, and it's such a good song, too. It's also, a very personal song because it talks about, maybe not everybody believes in what your dreams currently are at the time, but at the end of the day, it's like, your friends and your family are your home. And even though this is your passion, this is your desire, whatever you choose to do, you always have that one thing to come back to regardless of its ands or buts.
Very cool, very cool. We got a few more minutes here. We're talking with Christina. She's the lead singer of the band Oblivious Signal, which was, by the way, as we mentioned at the top of this interview, was our winner of the Rock in the Dark New Music Poll. So there are people out there that are really digging this song right now. And when you're playing that song, are people starting to, hey, that's a song that I've heard of before?
Yeah, it's cool. We put the video out a few weeks ago, so some of the people that actually knew we were coming to the show, I love being able to look in the crowd and I can see who watched the video and who did what because they're singing to it.
Right.
So it's awesome.
That's very cool. And, obviously everybody has something that urges them to make music. What is the urge that you have to make that music that you do?
And all of our music, there's a message to every song that we have. So for us, it's to kind of get rid of some of that negativity in the world and just put out like a little bit of a message of just hope and positivity. And hey, we've all been through things, but you can get through them.
Very cool. Well, obviously, touring right now is what you're doing. There's going to be more tours in the future. Have you had any more plans? I know you probably can't say what you're going to do, but is there future touring coming up here that maybe comes up our way?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. We did hear that for a couple of weeks in August, we might be heading up the Midwest.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure yet on what those dates are. And as soon as we know, they'll be up on oblivioussignal.com and just about any other place where you can find tour date information. We found all of our tour dates on Ticketmaster, which is pretty cool too for us,
Yeah.
because we're finally at this stage. So, but we'll put it up on our sites and everything for everybody to see when everything gets solidified. But expect a lot more touring throughout the rest of the year. Yeah,
and that was the next question. Where can we find out more information about the band Oblivious Signal?
You just go to oblivioussignal.com, and we make it very easy for our fans. All of our social networking links each have their own button on the top of the page. I know how annoying it is to have to Google search for everything. So we made it very simple for you guys. It's all in one place. You go to oblivioussignal.com. You got your Facebook, your YouTube, your Instagram, and music videos. Everything's there.
And how about the new album? Where can they get that? Pretty much iTunes, all those places?
iTunes, Best Buy, Target, if there's any Targets in your area.
Yep.
So you can find it anywhere where music is actually sold. Somebody sent us a snapshot yesterday. They got it from a music store in Chicago, which was pretty cool. So
very cool, very cool. Well, you know what? We're going to play your latest song here, Crash. Sound great?
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Great talking to you. A lot of fun chatting with you. Looking forward to meeting you in person sometime. And, hey, thanks so much for doing this interview.
Thank you so much.
Once again, that is the lead singer of the band Oblivious Signal. That is Christina. Here is their new song. It's called Crash. It's on the Dark on FM 94.